Hi, welcome to episode 8 of Digging for Gold. I'm your host, Dan Goldberg, and once again, we have a very special guest. My dear friend, colleague at a couple universities, correct? Peter Hornberger, who's, let's put it this way, he has certain abilities that all of you would love to have and can have with his expertise, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Are we good?
We're good. Yeah, that little camera thing turns off. But we're
I'm just
good.
checking, folks. This is technical stuff, okay?
It is a little concerning. But
it's concerning.
No,
I like to see it. One of the things, first of all, Peter runs an entire entrepreneurship program.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, we'll frame it as that.
At Penn State, at Abington. And he's very adept at artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI.
Yeah, at least a little bit of it. I dabble a little bit. There's lots of different pathways. We'll talk about that stuff.
And it's actually lectured on it, not only here at Penn State and in Philadelphia, but also in Germany.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At the Hof University of Applied Sciences in Hof, Germany, in Bavaria. Now that things are becoming very much in the AI zone, okay? Because you hear about AI all the time. I always thought it was Allen Iverson.
It still is to me. It's a generational thing. It will never stop being Allen
Iverson. But this artificial intelligence thing is, by the way, we're really not here. I'm not even a human being. I'm just an artificially intelligent whatever. But just kidding. Where does it come from? Who came up with this? And how's it grown so quickly? It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere.
It is, and I think we're still trying to figure out what is the business model for this stuff. It's cool. It's interesting.
It is.
But I don't know. We can't stuff it into everything. It's in phones, computers. It's soon coming probably to toasters and refrigerators near you. But I don't know if it belongs in all those spaces yet. But artificial intelligence is not new, and we've been living with it and around it for a really long time. It's just that it's taking new forms now as we have more processing power. We're able to do different things with it. But simple things, like I'm sure most of you have, if you don't play it, you have access to things like chess on your phone. And you move a chess piece, and that changes the status of the board. And something processes behind the scenes, and the computer moves a chess piece somewhere else. Not all that complicated in today's terms of what we're able to do now. Super complicated when you think about all the different permutations of a chessboard, what you had to do. But it's rules, and those rules get inputs. You process it through an algorithm, and output is move your pawn to this space.
It's amazing. I never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. Isn't a search engine artificial intelligence?
I mean, I'm sure there are people that would say yes and some that would say no. So I can't be right or wrong on this one. So I'll just say I think in some ways absolutely right. You're trying to match up through an algorithm.
Right.
What's the best way for me to connect the answer to your query? And that's what this is, and it's now expanding to include more things that see, look, and feel more human. And I think that's why we're maybe seeing this surge of interest and also fear of what is AI and what's it going to do, what's it going to take away from us as we move forward.
Yeah, and what's it going to add? To me, like when technology came into being, and I'm old enough to remember that, computers came into being, everybody was freaked out that it's going to take our jobs.
Yeah.
Robots will take our jobs. Yeah. And yet we have more jobs than ever, pretty much, okay? So I think that there are certain things that AI will enhance from a job perspective. We'll need more people. It'll be easier maybe. And it may take some other jobs away. I think I could be wrong.
I definitely think it will. When you mentioned to me about coming on and talking about this, I started thinking about what would I mention, and I still remember when we first came into contact. It's been 20 years. I don't know if you remember. Like it was 2005, 2006.
I do remember it.
I don't even think I had hair at the time. Still,
I know I did. Wait a minute, do I now?
No.
Wait, it's still gone.
It's still
okay.
gone. But one of the things that I was doing a lot of work at that time, early career things, were things like helping pull together presentations for someone else to give. I was supporting. I was putting a lot of the foundations together so that we as an organization could do more things as a group. Many of the things that I was doing at the time, like formatting PowerPoint slides for presentations, organizing calendars so that people knew when and where they were going, we could move resources, those things could very easily be handled,
Right.
not only by AI, but they could be done better than I could do them and more efficiently. But that doesn't mean that there's still not going to be roles for early career people. This is where I was thinking about what is it about AI that scares people is you think, oh, but that's a job that's gone.
Right.
But I still think that there was more to my job than actually putting together 47 PowerPoints for a presentation that week. Like that was one of the outputs. But there was conversations where I had to figure out who was presenting, what's their style, what kind of format do we want, what is our brand format. Like there was a lot of human to human interaction that needed to influence that. I don't think that's ever going to go away.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like when I first worked with AI, I thought to myself, well, that's going to diminish the number of copywriters that we'll need for ads, okay? But you will still need the person to create the logo, to create the company vision and the values and the culture. You're still going to need all that to pump into the mechanism, the algorithm for the AI.
Yep. I fully agree, right? And when you mentioned the word culture, that's something that it means a lot to me. I tried to be a doctor, it didn't work out because apparently you have to write this really long dissertation at the end, and I don't know what I did. I didn't finish it. That I know. Boredom, I don't know. My mind changes directions. Yeah, well, sure.
Right.
I got really close, but never finished. But the core thing that I was really looking at was culture, because I feel that the way you develop organizations, families, communities, culture is the thing. At least at this point, AI has no ability to comprehend, create, struggle, but I do think it is influencing culture. It's changing some of the way we value things, but I don't know that it's able to necessarily comprehend that yet. As you look at the timeline of what could AI become, that's a pathway that could it start figuring out emotions and empathy and not only understand your values, can it then have its own values? That's possibly a branch.
Yeah, that is possibly a branch. Some people may say it's a scary branch. Okay, but I guess it could have its own emotions, but can it build its own emotions into its own culture?
Yeah.
You'd need a bunch of, let's take our set here.
Yeah.
You'd need 4 robots here, AI robots, to work together to figure out what their culture is. Can that happen?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a futuristic Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's one of the last remaining frontiers that humans could hold on to.
Yeah, and I think at least in my own perspective of me developing as both a human and a professional and a colleague of yours, as well as many others, understanding that I have emotions, understanding that others have emotions, and not apologizing for any of those things and not diminishing anyone else's has been, I think, a really important factor in my development. So I would imagine if AI can start figuring that out, then you'll see some massive changes in it.
Yeah.
But at current, it's a really good tool. If you're fearful of it, again, like I said, it's everywhere. Whether it's search engines, chess games, even just the spelling on your email or a Word document. Right? It's a set of rules that when they are out of alignment, it triggers some kind of action that hopefully spurs a corrective response on your end.
Spell check. You're right. Spell check. And it's amazing that because it's ubiquitous in every country practically, their language, their spelling, that AI understands.
Yeah.
And our spelling, English or Spanish or whatever, it understands. But somebody has to input all that stuff.
Right. So now you're looking at why I think we're at the stage that we're at of why would we even bother talking about this in a podcast is that was rule-based. Someone has to input all the rules, if this, then that. And now we're at this stage of what a lot of people are seeing or thinking about when you hear the word AI is this more generative AI. So you're giving it a prompt and it generates something that mimics and looks like a human did it. Whether it's a text prompt where someone is answering a question or possibly writing a university paper. Who knows? I might have read some of these in the past. It does this. We were just talking before the show about how we could maybe use AI to generate the Spotify and the YouTube write-ups. So help me summarize the show. You and I could sit down after the show and say, like, oh, yeah, at 3 minutes and 57 seconds, Dan made this great comment. But we can also just plug that into AI, give it a few parameters, things we're looking for. Do we want timestamps? Do we want 100-word description, 1,000-word description? And let it run. And that can save you some time.
It's true.
But now it's making a thing that looks like a human did it. And I think this is now getting really interesting because whether it's a paper for schoolwork, whether it's work that you're doing for your organization, maybe it's a whole series of posts for a social media account that seems like there's someone there, but maybe there's no one there. Maybe the people we're talking to aren't even real because we now have generative AI that can generate human-like responses, including images, videos, and other content
and
now.
Voice.
And voice, yeah.
And one of the things that we all have to be cognizant of is AI can lie.
Absolutely.
Because it's someone's opinion that's inputted in there.
Yeah, so a lot of what I think when you start talking about this, that lying part comes in oftentimes with these, they're called large language models, LLMs, and they're basically trained on massive amounts of text. And what they're doing is they're matching up words that often follow the words that you said. So what it's doing is it's matching up and making things sound right. Whether they're right or not is irrelevant. The process is really making it sound good. And so I don't even know that it's lying. Like, to me, lying is a human thing. I don't know that the AI necessarily lies or not. Again, probably someone, computer scientists can debate that.
Maybe they're giving you incorrect information.
Yeah, but they're doing it for a purpose, which is this is what sounds best based on this. And, as someone that works with entrepreneurs and helps people, AI is a really good tool, but it does have a bit of a challenge, which is, for the most part, particularly with business ideas, it's incredibly positive. You can come up with any idea in the world. I was just in Germany. I was struggling to come up with an example, and I said, well, what if you wanted to start selling sauerkraut flavored ice cream? That's the only flavor you're going to have. One flavor, sauerkraut, in ice cream form. You say that to your family at a gathering, they're going to be like, we love you, we appreciate you. We will eat your sauerkraut ice cream, but I don't know that this is a time to take out a loan and divert your career to your endeavors in sauerkraut ice cream. But many times you type that into any of the AI tools, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, there's a bunch of them out there. They're great, but they're almost always going to come back with greatest idea I've heard in a millennium. This is amazing. You're going to make $1 billion next month just selling sauerkraut ice cream. And it tends to be overwhelmingly positive and supportive of whatever you kind of give it as the initial direction. It's like, yeah, that's the thing. Do that.
Wow, that is interesting. I would assume that you put the sauerkraut ice cream on your hot dog.
I mean, you got to go to another store. This is only sauerkraut ice cream. This is all. We don't have places for hot dogs in this store. But again, I type it into an AI platform and it tells me, yeah, go with it. Cash in your 401k. Let's go.
Crazy.
So
Yeah.
so it lacks some of that critical thinking. Back to one of the things we were talking about again leading up to the show is how important our experience, success, failures, the way we interpret the lived experience is how we then create the values which inform our culture. And if we don't have experiences, like AI doesn't really have experiences, it's just there kind of consuming whatever we put into it.
It's a great way of putting it. It consumes our information and spits it back out in the way that someone originally set it up for.
Yeah. Right.
So there's ChatGPT, there's Gemini.
Yep, that's a Google product.
What other
Claude
ones?
is another one. There's there's many more coming along. As I was in at Hof University, I don't know what platform they connect into, but they have their own AI platform that they use just in the school, so that students don't have to get an external account. And it's really cool for them to have that space, a playground, that's also a little bit more contained than just sending everyone out to do whatever they want.
And as a professor, okay, you will probably see papers that are written so well that you wonder, did this student write this, or and what are the parameters for using ChatGPT in an academic setting?
Yeah, and I think higher education is still trying to figure out what we all do. Some universities have policies. Some let it up to individual instructors. But there seems to be a never-ending interest in this from students, whether it's covertly doing it or just true exploratory interest of trying to figure out what can I do with this thing. So I just think that that's the purpose of higher education, is to explore and learn, and not by always being right. So you can make a few mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I would hope you don't make expulsion level mistakes, but you can make a mistake. And to me, this is the place to do it, as opposed to when you lose salary benefits, paid time off. I'd rather you lose a few points than paid time off. And
which is very interesting, because you're bringing up what's the term I'm looking for? Well, anyway, it's an interesting point, which is plagiarism. Writing, it is a no-no. Okay.
Yep.
I take your paper and I just copy a whole chunk out of it, and it goes in this paper, and the professor says, "Wait," and this happened to me with two students. One, I had back-to-back classes years ago, and I have this crazy ability to remember the papers. So I'm reading this paper, and there's this whole section in the middle, very interesting and so forth. I put it down, okay, then I'm grading the other class from my home office, and I go, wait, I just read this. And I go back to the other kid, and I had to tell the first group, you can go, but you got to wait here.
Yep.
I waited for the next group. I said, okay, tell me who copied off of who. And finally they did. And I set all these rules to rectify, to some degree, the situation. But now, plagiarism doesn't have to even be what it used to be. You just put in ChatGPT with your your parameters, and it spits something else out, and somebody else can put in the same parameters and it spits something else out.
Yeah, and so one of the things I've been doing in my classes, so I allowed students to use it.
Right.
I encourage them to use it. I give them scenarios in which they can, but also one of the things I've been doing in particularly my lecture notes, if I use ChatGPT or any of the other sources, I tend to use ChatGPT primarily. I'll put a note at the bottom. Let's say I have some content on that slide, whether it's an image that was created, or if I use it oftentimes for sequencing of my presentation. I have a concept of what I want to talk about, but I don't know where I should start. I don't know what. So I'll go in and I'll ask for some sequencing advice. So I will include in my slides, I'll include a note that says artificial intelligence was used for this purpose, and I always include the prompt so that they know that I use it, how
Right.
and when. So
Right.
I think that's another thing that could be a bit unfair is it's really hard to tell when people are using it and they aren't. And plagiarism is one pathway, but the other pathway is if you don't want to break the rules, that's, I think, a good thing. I mean, bending the rules, I think, is a good way to, again, learn and push boundaries to figure out how much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also this point of not knowing when others are pushing those boundaries. So if you're stacking up, let's say in a business program, and you're trying to be one of the top 10% of those students, how do you know? It's like performance enhancing drugs in sports. How do you know unless there's a method to know who's doing what? So I think that's a challenge, and I hope that as my career progresses, I have no interest in becoming the police of AI. Like I do not, I have no interest in doing that. I came into this profession because I have a passion for not telling people what to do. It's not even really teaching. It's for being part of others' trajectories and helping them figure out how much they already can do.
To
I'm not
facilitate.
I'm not the one empowering them. They already had the power. I'm just trying to facilitate them figuring out how good they already were so that they can
Great
take
way of
that
putting
next
it.
step.
Yeah, I know that in my world of being a professor, I do put parameters
Yeah,
in
good.
my syllabi temple for the use of
Mm-hmm.
AI.
Good.
But I think eventually it will be so ubiquitous that
100%.
it's not even
I
people
100% agree, Dan.
think twice about it. I do remember being on a doctoral committee
Mm-hmm.
and reading a dissertation that was so perfect that the first thing that, and you're not talking about a 10-page paper, you're talking about 150 pages, 175 pages. And that was the first thing that came to my mind was, this is almost absolutely perfect. And then in the discussion, I realized that the external reader of this PhD, or it was a doctor of business administration student, had a phenomenal external reader.
Mm-hmm.
So the external reader
Yep.
moves
Tailors,
this,
yeah.
they become their AI, and,
Yep.
and that's allowed to have an external reader. But I wonder if you pumped in a paper. No, I guess you just put in your keywords.
I mean, so that's a big part of this, right? Which is it often seems like, at least particularly the conversations in higher ed, and I imagine they're everywhere, is that, again, this is going to take jobs. It might, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't move somewhere else. Again,
Yeah.
we've gone through generations of this where now I guess now I'm old enough to say, like, I remember when Google came out, we had the exact same conversations. I was working at Kutztown University. I remember people saying, oh my gosh, students are going to be able to just Google the answers to everything, and then how will we have academic integrity? The exact same conversation that comes up with AI. We just change it from Google to this, and whatever it was before then. So again, to me, it's a moving train, and we're all on it. So even if you do nothing, you're coming along for the ride anyway. So you might as well get involved so you have an idea of what is the destination, what are the sites we're going to see as we go past it, because you can't get off of this thing. So you're coming along.
It's funny because before we started the show today, I was telling you that I was lecturing at my old high school at Central.
Yeah.
They were having a summer program for junior achievement, and the kids are all middle school, just entering high school, and they know all about this stuff. I mean, they're that generation is born into this.
Yeah, so
they
they're
may
born
not know
into
how
the
to use it.
technology, right?
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily born into the psychology, the sociology aspects that then inform it. So they understand prompts, inputs, and how to retailer some of these things so that it has a particular voice, right? So if you're writing, not that any student should use this, but you should probably prompt it to say, like, can you write this like you're a 22-year-old that likes these sports and has these experiences, vacations at this look. Like, you should probably, if you want, if you want to tailor
I never
this,
thought of that. I never
yeah,
thought of that. You
yeah.
can do that.
So part of what I covered when I was in Hof is that there's 5 aspects, and I don't even think I can remember them, that I would encourage people to think about if you're going to write a prompt, so that it makes it a little bit more tailored. It's still a little plain, and you can start seeing similarities, but absolutely one of the things that I think is most important is voice. As I mentioned about the sauerkraut ice cream, it tends to give you lots of positive feedback unless you tell it, hey, I'm going to need you to take on a role. I'd like you to, when you talk to me, have the voice of you're a business consultant that's been working in the industry for 40 years. I like to tell it things like, you're 2 weeks from retirement, you've worked on big projects your whole life, and now for your last project, you've decided you're just going to take on this one last small project as a favor, but you're going to bring all the experience, all the passion,
Wow.
but also you're going to be really strongly cynical of, like, are you sure you want to do this? Before you start telling it, now, tell me about my business idea. Is it any good? You give it that voice. So same thing if I'm grading your paper. If I'm grading a paper, I have you in class. I typically know who you are, what your interests are. I know about the things because we're humans. You and I think, have learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you as an educator, and I teach humans. I don't teach content. Content's just the thing that's a topic of the day, but I'm only there because there's humans in the room for me to interact with. So those are the things that when I'm there, and then I get a paper that talks about your part-time job at a coffee shop in Florida, and I'm not saying that I pulled this up out of nowhere. I'm like, wow, I didn't know you somehow take classes every day in Pennsylvania, but also for some reason work a part-time job at a coffee shop in Florida. That seems less than efficient.
Did somebody actually write that?
Yes, it's like that's just less than efficient. That's the part where I think I don't want to get involved in that role of saying I don't want to police these things, but at the same time, I'm going to read your papers. Like I don't assign them for you to do work. I assign them because I want to see what you have an idea of. And I definitely don't want to read things that aren't written by other humans.
Yeah. Because I was thinking you were talking about all the prompts about the sauerkraut ice cream and putting all these things in. I wonder if you can say, well, what do I do if I'm lactose intolerant?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
And how do I get around that?
Absolutely. I think you can.
You can?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's what I wanted to be. If I were encouraging you to use large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, is work with them as an agent. Don't just set it up as do my homework.
Right.
Set it up as it's an ongoing conversation with an agent. They're there to facilitate you getting to your destination faster. They're not there to do your work, but they're there to facilitate. And therefore, if I were meeting someone on the street, again, I gave this example in Hof, is if I had just arrived in the city of Hof in Bavaria for the first time, I get off of the train at the train station. I just walk up to the first person I see and say, where should I go for dinner tonight? There's lots of problems with that. One, I don't know if that person is even from there. They're at a train station. Maybe they're just like me, the first time there. So now I don't know who they are. And then I'm asking them, where should I go for dinner? And they might say, you should go to this place. They've got amazing gelato. And you say, oh, well, I'm lactose intolerant, so that's not going to work. Well, we should probably tell it that. And they say, oh, you should go to this place. They have amazing schnitzel. And you say, oh, that's great. Schnitzel is amazing, but I just ate schnitzel 3 times last week. I don't want any more schnitzel. I'd like something different. We need to give those prompts so that you get a better response. A lot of times what I think we see as what is AI is it's like a search engine. We use it, we need something, we go to it, and we just say, where should I go for dinner tonight? AI, I believe, needs a bit more of that interaction back and forth, where you give it context first, give it a role so that it has a role of, you're not just someone at the train station. You've lived in this community for 25 years. These are your favorite foods. Now you tell me how to respond.
You're putting it in a whole new perspective for me.
Okay.
Okay? And for hopefully
I hope
for all of you.
I hope.
The prompts, because I don't use it much at all, really. I use search engines,
Yeah.
but I have used it to look up things.
Yeah.
Okay. But for those of you who are watching this, you really are getting a new perspective on how GPT can work for you. Not do your work, but work for you.
Yeah.
And as we progress as a society, it will be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah.
And we're still have the emotional side and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
and the culture, as we talked about earlier. But AI itself, you painted a great picture. We're on a train. There's no stopping the train.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to pass all these things.
Yep.
It's like life. History will pass us.
Mm-hmm.
Every second or nanosecond is a historical event.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
As we're going through life, but where does it lead to? And who knows?
We don't know. But like you said, you're on the train. You're going there anyway. So we should be preparing ourselves for where we might wind up. And at bare minimum, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and be inquisitive. What are we passing next? What else is there to do? Because again, old enough now to remember times where when we added things like computers and we updated to PDFs instead of printers, and we had all this vision of the future of, oh my gosh, we're going to have so much spare time, and
it's worse now
it's
than
worse,
ever.
right? I think when you look at the amount of free time we have, as particularly in America, working adults have less free time available now than they did at pretty much any point in history. Like, we have less free time than when we were an agrarian society, having to do really long hours in the field. The technology has not done what we expected it to do. What it's allowed us to do is be more productive, but it hasn't created the space yet where we're not really offloading work.
Yeah, it's interesting. The first, I would say, okay, we have cell phones, but they weren't smartphones.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
They were flip phones and stuff. I remember the first fax machine I got and thinking, this is interesting. It's going to speed everything up.
Yeah.
And when you used to be able to say, okay, I'll send you that in the mail.
Yep.
Okay, and you'll get it in 2 or 3 days or whatever. Now it was instant.
Yeah.
It was instant.
Yep.
Which then led to, I got to get it out now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that I've done that, I need somebody else to come in. I need to get another client. I need to do this. I need to do that.
Right.
So it just
So instead of doing one, now you have the time to do 6.
5.
Yeah.
But everybody wanted a fax.
Yep.
Fax me that invoice.
I still get that now. Do you still get that occasionally?
Yes, I do.
Right.
I do.
And then I have to go scramble trying to find some way. I
fax
wind up
machine.
paying someone $7 to send 3 sheets of fax.
It's true. and it's so wild how fast. That was in the mid 80s, I think. And here we are, 25 years later, 80s to 90s, 90s,
it's
35 years later. I mean, it's warp speed.
Yeah.
It is really warp speed. And that warping hasn't even really begun in a highly pressurized situation yet. And that will happen. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
Right.
No, I mean it in a positive way. So it's going to be, I just wonder what my grandchildren will see, your grandchildren,
Yep.
your children, my children, my great-grandchildren, yes.
They're here.
And they're here. They're here. I do have a great-grandson. And he's great.
I'm sure
it's a
he
great
is.
line.
Yeah.
But what it's going to be like in 50 years, in 20 years.
I don't know, right? Like there's one pathway that's kind of like back to the Terminator movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's kind of like end of days, and at this point, like I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen, and if it does happen, while the AI robots are taking over the world, no one's going to come back to this podcast and be like, Peter was wrong. He said that wasn't going to happen. So I get away. I can say that. Like I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
I expect jobs to change. I don't necessarily expect them to disappear. I would love to see, because I have a child, you have generations of children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I want their lives to be wonderful. I want them to have more free time than I had. I want them to have more stability. I want them to have more prosperity. And my hope is that AI is part of that recipe. I don't expect anyone to just never work again. I don't expect anything to happen in that sense. But I do want the things that we're working on and we're supporting and trying to work as educators to build a culture that not only has values and norms and behaviors, but also explores how could those values, norms, and behaviors change as society changes, as technology changes. And my hope is we're doing all those things. It's so that whoever comes after has more stability, prosperity, peace than we had.
I can see that impacting medicine.
Absolutely.
And agriculture.
Yeah.
It's like I'm growing something and something's not right.
Yep.
Something's going on in the soil. If you could input all those results into AI and it'll tell you what to do to rectify that for agriculture and even for the human condition.
Yeah.
Medicine.
And that's where we're at now. It was just at, we have a local farmers market, which is a producer's market in the place that near my house. And so there are all the people that actually are in the process of producing the materials. So we buy apples, blueberries, peaches from one of the farmers. And we've just been talking to them about all the rain we had been having back May and June of 2025. And he said, we have these sensors that calculate this. And he was able to tell me specifically how much rain was received in his blueberry fields, different from his peach orchards, different. And you look at how much data is now becoming available in every aspect of our lives, whether it's farming, business, medicine. Having AI to help pare down some of that burden of monitoring, processing, and capturing the alerts. I think this is going to allow us to again, hopefully be more efficient, more productive, and again, my hope is more happy at the end of the day.
I hope we're happier. I'm looking forward to seeing that happiness grow, and I'm looking forward to our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I won't be around, but I hope they can see what the benefits are of AI and algorithmic life is, because that's what we're living.
Yeah.
We're living in an algorithm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're also living a movie. We're making our own movie.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see how this movie progresses. And maybe it'll be a series eventually, and it is on Netflix or whatever is around by then. Yeah, or maybe we'll do a Digging for Gold special in 200 years from now when great-great-great-grandchildren are taking over this.
Yeah, why not?
Peter, this has been great.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it. You're an amazing guy, and your knowledge of AI is terrific. I hope you all, well, I know you all, have gotten some terrific information from this, and now you know how to use it better when you're writing your papers and stuff, and for your own edification in how to better your life with AI and not look at it as something scary.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to finish with is, no matter what it is, AI or anything, fear is an emotion. It's not a right or wrong emotion. It is an emotion. If you're fearful of something, the best way to address that, be inquisitive, explore it. If you're excited about it, go explore it too. it's the best answer to all of these things is
It's true.
Go engage with the thing that you either want to learn about or are scared of learning about. Both of them are the same medicine to solve the different problem.
Curiosity can help you grow.
It's amazing.
That's it.
Stay curious, though.
Yep, stay curious. Stay curious, my friends. Okay. Thanks, Peter.
No worries, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, folks, we'll see you in our next episode of Digging for Gold. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.